Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. If you ask experts why Raila Odinga lost his bid to become the chairman of the African Union Commission to the very little country Djibouti's candidate, Mohamed, they will tell you that there is a way we went there and we were showcasing some kind of arrogance. The manner in which we carried over 100 MPs and leaders and friends who went there was ostensible to give Raila moral support, notwithstanding the fact that those people were not going to vote. There was no moral support that was needed. We really needed to convince all the African states to vote for Raila. That was the most important thing, because Raila went and he had campaigned, he had sold his manifesto to the president. So all we needed was to be very calm and humble so that they vote for us, or they vote for Raila. After that, if there is anyone who wanted to celebrate, then they celebrate after winning. And when you are saying that when the other countries looked at the delegation that Raila carried with him, some of them were intimidated because Kenya stands out as a senior in the East African front. And I'm told that some of them were intimidated by Kenya fronting a candidate. And if you want to know that indeed the team that was around Raila Odinga was very arrogant, then I want you to listen to Junet Mohamed speaking on the floor of parliament today, trying to force people to accept Raila, to accept that when Raila was fronted as a Kenyan candidate, then every Kenyan must, and the word must is in capital letters and must be underlined in red color, must be supported. So that if you are not supporting, or if you are not supporting Raila's bid, or if you are celebrating the loss, then you are primitive, according to him. Kindly check Junet Mohamed.
But Mr. Speaker, what has shocked me as a Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, and up to now I am still in shock, is not the loss that we had in Addis Ababa. Mr. Speaker, what has shocked me is that the celebration that happened in some parts of our country after we lost that election, Mr. Speaker. This was not a Kenyan contest, Mr. Speaker. Some of the people who are celebrating are keeping now busy the majority leader here. Can they sit down so that they can hear what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker.
Order, Wamawa and...
These are some of the people who are celebrating. He celebrated, but that is fine, because in a contest you can...
Order, Wamawa, you cannot cross the aisle like that.
Mr. Speaker...
It's immaterial what she wants to do.
Mr. Speaker...
Go on.
Kenyans knew very well that this is not an election that is going to happen within the country. It's not an election that is normally announced at Bomas of Kenya. This was an election that was happening at the African Union. And some of the Kenyans became so unpatriotic and supporting a candidate against Kenya, Mr. Speaker, and even campaigning for him openly in the social media, in all kind of sphere, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I cannot be so unpatriotic. If today a Kenyan of any color, any race, any religion, any creed comes out to contest for an international position, Mr. Speaker, I will support. In the spirit of being a Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, that's all. The first thing that we need to look at is being a Kenyan, not from the community you come from, not from your color, not from your religion, not from anything. Mr. Speaker, how unpatriotic can some Kenyans be that they fought the Right Honorable Prime Minister for 1 year he has been campaigning, and after losing, they celebrated? We shall revisit that, I can assure you. We will revisit that one. It will not go. We will revisit at the right time. We will also have our day to laugh and to celebrate, Mr. Speaker. And it's not very far, it is coming, Mr. Speaker. It's not very far. You can take that to the bank, and I will remind you the day I'm celebrating that you also celebrated your day. This is my day. Inshallah. Bismillah al-Karim. And warn the naysayers that you should avoid that kind of thing going forward in future. Mr. Speaker, because if you are going to oppose a Kenyan because of his political affiliation, because of domestic issues, it's a very primitive way of looking at things. And I know some of the people, why we impeach them also, it was not in the impeachment paper, but it's primitivity. Some of them are very primitive people. Village mentality. You know, people want to go to international organizations. Instead of supporting them, you are judging them on the basis of what happens in a village, Mr. Speaker. I'm very sad about that. I do not expect people to celebrate the loss of a Kenyan in an international contest. It's a shame. Whichever you are, you cannot celebrate the loss of a Kenyan in an international contest. I repeat again. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. Now, if our athlete loses in a contest now, in the New York Marathon or in the London Marathon, you expect me to celebrate? Because it's not from my community? It's not from my region? It's not from my religion? It's not from my village? It's not from my what? Shame on you. Shame. And those people who did that must desist. And never to repeat that. I must say that on the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker. Because this is where we address issues of concern to the people. And that is an issue of high concern to the people, Mr. Speaker. When we are telling Kenyans that you cannot run in any contest outside Kenya. In the first place, even if we run here in Kenya, they will not vote for us, I know. We have taken very serious that matter, and we don't want it to happen in our country again. We want to support our people. We want to support our Kenyans, wherever they are. That is why we impeach certain people, because they were telling us we are not shareholders of this country. That's what they told us. We have not forgotten. They told us that you are not shareholders in this country. I don't know when the shareholding certificate was issued in this country. At independence, everyone was there. You should call for annual general meeting so that we know which shares we have. So you get impeached on that kind of nonsense, and you continue celebrating again the loss of a Kenyan in an international contest. We will stand firm. We will hold our head high. We have not lost anything. We have, in the contrary, we have gained because we have registered the name of Kenya in the international arena, Mr. Speaker.
I have always told you, ladies and gentlemen, that if you want to know the character of a person, just look at the people whom he associates with. They say birds of the same feathers walk together. Just the other day, William Ruto was telling us that if you are opposing his idea of vaccinating your cows, then you are stupid. According to him, you must accept his idea. And if you're not accepting that, then you are foolish. The other time when some people went to court trying to oppose his idea of taxing Kenyans, the housing levy, he said he was not given a sword to joke around with. It was to deal with people who never read from the same script as he. And that is the same arrogance that you can see with Junet Mohamed there. We have not forgotten, it is not lost on us, that when some people went to social media and they were trying to criticize William Ruto's policies and the way Kenya is being governed, Junet condemned it together with Joho. So when you see, we understand that Kenya fronted Raila. But Raila was Ruto's candidate. That is the truth. You cannot force people to love a particular politician. And I dare say that people like Junet Mohamed do not mean well for Raila Amolo Odinga. Raila has worked hard to build his legacy. But there are people who are working hard to destroy that legacy. Raila took many years to build that legacy. But there are people who have decided that within just a year or so, that legacy is broken. When he joined hands with William Ruto, the trust that Kenyans had for him or in him is lost. Gen Zs are telling him, we are happy that you lost. Raila has been in politics, like he sometimes puts it, that he has been in politics when some of these people who are now talking around were in their political diapers. They were still in their diapers. So people like Junet are now coming and they want to force people to, like Raila, that you cannot criticize, that you cannot ask questions. And when they were talking on the floor of the House, it was about George Kimburi, who had questioned the amount of money that was used in Raila's, campaign. We all know, if you search today, that when Uhuru sponsored or Kenya sponsored Amina Mohamed, we used about 437 million Kenya shillings. Today, why are we waiting for Kenyans to start, asking, why don't you just tell us? If you want to tell us that it was a Kenyan affair, then put it plain, the amount of money, because that is the bone of contention. And in a democracy such as where we are today, you cannot force people to like Raila. You cannot force people to like Ruto. You cannot force people to like Gachagua or Mudavadi or Wetangula or Kalonzo. That is why whenever people are subjected even to voting on election, some people are left out, others are elected. Even if you wanted to associate with Raila and Junet Mohamed is talking, and Junet is a very close ally of Raila Odinga, then you will feel that he has been given the green light from Raila to speak in the manner in which he's doing. William Ruto is very happy. William Ruto wants to destroy Raila's legacy, and he has destroyed part of it. Instead of allowing Raila to regain and salvage the little that is remaining, they keep on damaging and they denature even the other part that is remaining. There are people associated with Raila because they understand who he is. And I don't think that forcing people to like a particular candidate is part of him. On the floor of parliament, they're supposed to be discussing even mature issues, things that can help us. How do you stand and take a moment to tell people you force people to like a particular candidate? To me, that is not patriotism. And you cannot liken that to a Kenyan athlete who goes for maybe a marathon and he loses. Because we all know, if there is one thing that they want to pretend, we all know the reason why William Ruto sponsored Raila Odinga. It was to allow Raila exit the political space and stage within the country so that he can continue bullying Kenyans and inheriting Raila's support base. And people understand because, we are not fools as they think. So when he goes around and he starts, criticizing those who do not want Raila, those who are celebrating, really, I don't think it has come to that level. That is wrong. I'm saying this because Junet has been mentioned in very bad faith. During the last election, his name featured that when money that was supposed to be even given to agents were released, there are allegations. He's been accused that he was the one who mismanaged this money. You remember, even after the 2022 election, he was nowhere to be seen. He took some kind of sabbatical leave so that people could forget. And I remember people were demanding, where was he and Joho during the Azimio protest? There has been a kind of arrogance around Raila Odinga. Now watu ndio wanamwaribia. And the people who manage Raila Odinga have been accused that they start celebrating too early. Even during 2007 election, Ruto flew all the way from Eldoret to come and confront Kivuitu at KICC. And those who are close to the corridors of power are telling us that Raila was busy trying to form a cabinet, yeah? Wameanza kung'ang'ana mapema, wewe utakuwa hapa, wewe nani utakuwa huku, wewe ndio utakuwa minister of... Yet votes were being rigged in KICC. That is the same thing that they carried to Ethiopia. And this kind of arrogance, ladies and gentlemen, I think is only meant to ensure that Raila loses it all. I don't know what you think, but sometimes I feel that when you want to endear yourself to the people of Kenya or any other people, try to be humble. Don't bully people around. There are people who love Raila. And by the way, we don't need people who are around Raila to like him. People love Raila. There are people who saw him fight for the second liberation. There are people who saw him being detained. There are people who saw Raila fighting for the new constitution. There are people who have seen Raila all through. And he doesn't need these young politicians around him who are now trying to manage him. Let me tell you, the people who are around Raila are the people who sometimes even mismanage ODM grassroots elections, ODM nominations. If I'm lying, ask aspirants. And then they come and they want to force you to be in love with ODM. And one person who is very happy is William Samoei Ruto. Because William Ruto knows that a day in politics is very important. It can change things because politics is dynamic. And he does not want a Raila who can still stand up strong in terms of manifesto and ideologies and policies. He wants a Raila who is now at loggerheads with Kenyans. And when people like Junet are talking this way, he's very happy because should Raila decide that he's making a U-turn and he wants to run or he wants to support someone, then he's already created enemies more than friends. I don't think Raila needs such people. And I think Raila should do an overhaul of the party and the people around him. Raila knows very well that there are people who will like you for who you are and there are people who will not like you. But I've never seen Raila standing anywhere since he started his politics and forcing people to like him. It is very true that one of the things that destroyed Raila's party are the people around him. Because other countries look at us and they see, they try to compare us with the Djibouti candidate, the Madagascar candidate. Even when they went there, they didn't have a large number of people who were dancing in the streets and trying to celebrate. And you know why? People understand that whatever we took there was local politics, so that Raila could take and we come back and tell Gachagua that now we want to support William Ruto by force, and if you don't want, you can go. We have impeached you. You go there. Mungu si athumani. And I'm telling you, if we are going to carry ourselves this way, a time has come when we are going to look at each and every leader individually, not forcing people to like politicians just like that. Let us have people who, anytime you open your mouth, you bring in more people, not exposing Raila to ridicule, and more people even go away because they fear all these kind of things. I don't know whether I'm reading too much, but I don't like that kind of arrogance where you force people to like others.